What is your can't eat at everybody's house horror story? 1. When I was a kid, Christmas Eve was always celebrated at Grandma's. I always got sick afterward. Like, Merry Christmas, you're going to puke now. It wasn't until I was all grown up and helping her out in the last weeks of her life that I learned why she did not believe in expiration dates on anything. 2. I was babysitting a kid in a pretty dirty house. I was told to wake him up, supervise his bath and changing clothes, and feed him. I was welcome to whatever was in the fridge. The house and his clothes were filthy. Then, when I opened the cabinets, floods of roaches poured out. There were roaches in every open box and container. I took him back to my house and returned him later that day. I hope the boy ended up in a better situation. I found out CPS got involved shortly after. 3. Told my dad my sandwich tasted like fly spray at my grandma's house. He didn't believe me. 2 days later, I caught my grandma spraying the countertops clean with the $2 fly spray from the cheap store. Dad figured it was safe to make sandwiches straight on the countertop because they looked clean. I dragged him over to see, and he apologized and took my sister and me out for fish and chips for lunch. 4. There was one time I was eating at my boyfriend's house, and his grandmother was cooking. She wasn't feeling well, and everyone offered to cook that night, but she insisted. Usually, when she's cooking, she doesn't like anyone in the kitchen. The kitchen, however, is the first thing you see when you walk into the apartment. I came back from the store, helping pick up a few things for dinner, and walked in to see her blowing her nose with her hand and then using the same hand to massage seasonings into the chicken. She cooked the chicken and the rice. I didn't eat that day and just said I'd eaten before I came over. Some of his family members thought I was rude, but I didn't have the heart to tell them. They didn't like me very much anyway because I was shy. 5. Had a Christmas party at work. Someone brought pasta salad. The bowl was full of cat hair. I wanted to throw up immediately. Unfortunately, I'm bad at keeping a poker face. 6. My mother-in-law fished around in the compost bin with her bare hands, didn't wash them, wiped her garbage juice hands on a towel, and then went back to prepping the salad. She also got horrifically offended if I didn't want to eat at her house. 7. I visited a friend's house where he lived with his mother. She asked if I wanted coffee, and I said I would. Upon finishing the cup and taking the last few gulps, I found a used Band-Aid stuck to the bottom. Never ate or drank there again. 8. My first boyfriend's parents invited me for Thanksgiving. I came over a few days before Christmas, and all the same dirty dishes from Thanksgiving were still in the kitchen. I passed on coming over for Christmas dinner. 9. I went to a friend's house after school. He was going to teach a group of us how to play D&D. We got there, and his house was disgusting. I'm not the neatest person, but the carpet hadn't been vacuumed in forever, clothes were everywhere, and dirty dishes were stacked up. I tried to be polite even though the place reeked, but at some point, he was like, "Who wants snacks?" He picked up a bowl crusted with stuff, splashed in some water, wiped it with a towel that clearly hadn't been washed that decade, and poured chips into it. Then he asked if we wanted to stay for dinner. We did not. 10. A girl I was interested in at the time had cats. I came to her house one day to pick her up for a date, and she had a large sack of rice open in her pantry with the pantry door open. One of the cats hopped out of the sack of rice, and she just casually laughed, saying, "Oh, they're always getting into things." Came over the following weekend, and that same sack of rice was in the pantry. I could hear one of the cats tussling around in it again. We stopped dating sometime after that, but any time she offered to cook for me, I immediately pivoted to taking her out to eat instead.